are not enough. It also means that the adoption has gone up. 75%, if you look at the left side of the slide, 75% of the top 200 CXO kind of stakeholders have said, look, AI is something they need to adopt. And that number is going up day by day. And impact is something which is being felt that AI has direct impact on top line, bottom line, and increasing operational efficiencies. And these are numbers which are compiled from not one source, multiple sources, analysts, consulting, and different firms. And this slide is particularly relevant because if you see on the left side, the top end, for the laggards or the players who will be missing on AI or will be late on AI, $1.2 trillion worth of business will be stolen. So there is a huge aspect about that. Look, if data science AI is not being adopted, implemented, maybe at some level, it will be considered that that organization may not be relevant. Now let me come to that, which is fundamentally is the narrative about decision making. Going back to the slide what I showed, that eventually AI is also trying, or rather AI is all about mimicking the human brain. The whole aspect about perceive, learn, act is what a human brain does. So when this mimicking or replication happens, to the closest level, what happens? Which means we are talking about how the decision making needs to change. When decision making gets changed, there is a triangulation of three aspects, three dimensions which will be. One, organizations and humans will have no choice but to augment the intelligence. A bit provocative, that's true. The second thing, which is being discussed today about automation, I think it's all about rebalancing the human-machine equation. And the third thing is about this whole decision-making game. Can we incorporate human behavior? It's often a very neglected piece. And I'll give examples why we talk about this human behavior and why it's so pivotal for each one of us. So let me start with the first one, human intelligence. And this is not about how we consume data. It's about how the various aspects of enterprises, organizations are looking at what I say non-obvious sources of data. Now, the gentleman on the right, everyone knows, right? Right? The story is not about him. This example is about any listed company goes through a financial or an earnings call, right? Some of you would have heard of earnings call. It happens every quarter for a listed company. The CEOs are on the stage, on the podium, on the dais, talking about financial projections, what's happened, what's going to happen, forecasting. And tell me, if you've been through those calls, have you ever heard of the CEO not talking good about their numbers? The fact is, there's so much of money in the background which is invested by VCs, PE funds, shareholders, stakeholders. They can't just simply go by the narration of the CEO and say, look here, what you're saying is right. 10% sequential growth, 2% kind of a, let's say, number-driven approach. Sometimes it looks, look, everyone is so optimistic that why the company's script or the stock is not going up. So what? Analytics, AI professionals are doing, they are trying to analyze what happens in that financial or earnings call. So as a CEO speaks, they are being analyzed on a real-time basis. Any lump in the throat, any voice modulation is considered a sign of weakness. I'm talking great about a company, but if I have modulations in my voice, I'm frequently having lump in the throat, something is not right. But the CEOs are smart. They are tutored, they are well rehearsed. So their facial expressions can also be managed because they know how to manage their entire body language, demeanor, and how they kind of come in front of the audience. But what happens out there? In every earnings call, besides the CEO, at the back, there are a bunch of CEOs, a chief compliance officer, a chief finance officer, a marketing head, or maybe a kind of a if the CEO is really talking buoyant, very bullish about the company, but at the same time through a live video feed, the CFO is maintaining a straight, poker face expression, there is a sign of weakness possible. These are kind of what I say signals from the noise you pick up to ensure what is true and what is not true. Another example out here. Now this is an image of a parking lot. You will say, yeah, a retail company looking at parking lot just to kind of gauge footfalls. Well, that used to happen in the past. What this company, retail company, yes, it is. What they're trying to do through a satellite image data 24/7, they're trying to analyze the car parked in the parking lots, the make of the car, the models of the cars, the total time the car have actually spent time in the parking lot, and trying to extrapolate those data points to actually understand what will be their financial projection 3 months, 6 months, 12 months down the line. That's the level of sophistication we're talking about, gathering data from non-obvious sources. Let me up the volume, please. Almost 20-second video feed of a Super Bowl match. Just like in India, IPL, which is fever of the nation, in US and Super Bowl, and specifically the final. $160 billion of ad spend happened in one single match. One TV commercial, one advertisement cost about $3 to $4 million. This is a money involved. And you are into marketing, you have your brand which is getting advertised, and if your CEO is looking at the match and the team loses, your team loses, I'm sure you'll have a rough time tomorrow because somewhere when trying to avoid CEO, you bump into the CEO and the first thing the CEO asks, look, I did not see our brand. I think on the marketing side, the folks were smart. What they did was this. Let's look at the right side, please.
Basement! Let's go, Bob. Let's go. Over here. Go. It's all right. Run tight. Let's take a quick count.
As you can see, this live video feed was actually being labeled and annotated. The jerseys of the players, the turf of the stadium, the players gallery, each and every single brand was getting captured. And through a simple marketing mix technique, the whole aspect about brand being flashed in that particular moment of incident was done. And that's where the marketing ROI gets witnessed. And these are the examples what I'm talking about and subsequent are the ones which are actually being implemented by the companies. Now let's look at the side which to me is the biggest change which will happen in healthcare. And I have my statement which I will reserve though, but happy to take that during break, that the job of a radiologist. The job of a radiologist today is in danger. And we know that in India, a radiologist is considered to be a very sought after occupation in the medicine side. A radiologist takes about 15 to 20 minutes to analyze an X-ray, CT scan, an MRI before really giving you conclusions or a bit of analysis. Deep learning algorithms, millions of X-rays, CT scan images of not only your current element, your previous 20 elements, done in 20 milliseconds, 30 milliseconds with a 99+% accuracy. So the question, please spark, is what will a radiologist do? And I'll come to that. Now this is something which is an example again in the public domain and very close to something I say that how AI, the magic of AI works for the best of the humanity. Now the gentleman on my right, the one who's wearing glares, is Saqib Sheikh. Saqib is born and bred up in Pakistan. He's visually impaired. He can't see. Saqib moved to US about 7-8 years back, and he got a job opportunity with Microsoft. And during his first 6 months, he was trying to explore, make friends, and in one of the coffee discussions, his friends at Microsoft said, Saqib, let's make your life magical. Saqib said, look, there's nothing magical, I can't see. Let's not joke around this thing. They said, okay, why don't you wear these pair of glasses? Now, Saqib said, look, for a visually impaired, glasses will not work. Forget about that, I can't even see. They said, okay, hang on. So what they gave Saqib is not an ordinary pair of glasses. So now when Saqib steps out to meet his friends, neighbors, step out to go to the office, he wears these glasses. The glasses have the innate ability to click pictures on the board, which means when Saqib is stepping out, he can actually click his right finger and start clicking pictures through pressing the stem of the glass. Now pictures to a visually impaired person has no meaning, right? But pictures on a real-time basis are getting translated into the walls, which means Saqib is wearing the earpods, and what he's now able to listen is, Saqib, 10 meters ahead of you, there is probably a 15-year-old kid on a skateboard wearing a kind of a jersey which is blue, a beige trouser, black sneakers. Would you like to meet him? Imagine the life of Saqib really now becoming magical. The second thing which is important as far as decision-making change is automation. And we also have subsequent debates and discussions around this, but I'll just take a few examples that what will happen if the rebalancing of the human and machine equations happen from an automation side. Let me give an example. 7,000 deaths happen in US because of wrong prescription of drugs and medicines. It's a phenomenon in India as well, with all due regards. Doctor writing is very, very illegible. We can't make out what's written over there. Mistakes happen. The pharmacist or the chemist across the counter gives you wrong medicine, fatality happens. $14 to $15 billion of lawsuits get filed every year in US because of wrong prescription of drugs. And this chemist or pharmacy chain, as it's called, said enough is enough. We want to do something about this. So what they did was, and this is natural case study, they deployed a humanoid arm in one of the stores. They're kind of a pharmacy store in California, San Francisco, Union Square. Now this humanoid arm actually greets you when you visit that store. You give the prescription, it scans the prescription, goes across the aisle of the store. Meanwhile, it's actually reading the prescription and correlating your prescription with the 10 different elements you had in the past, because patient data records are linked in US, and picks up the right medicine across the counter, comes to you. You can pay by contactless credit card, and the entire transaction happens in flat 45 seconds to 1 minute. Accuracy rate 99.8%. And in this case, another question you will ask or probe is, what's the job of a pharmacist across the counter? In the earlier case, it was radiologist, and in this case, it's pharmacist. And in both the cases, the obvious aspect you will say, look, the jobs are in danger. Well, no. this is exactly what will happen. The job of a radiologist is not to just analyze the X-rays and CT scan. The core job of a radiologist is to counsel the patient about the well-being. The chemist or the pharmacist, their main core job is to actually counsel the patient about their well-being, their wellness, what they should be doing to increase their, but somewhere that transactional activity is actually blurring the core job, which will start coming out as we move into what I say, the next phase of intelligent automation. I'll skip this example. This is more about predictive maintenance of the trains. This is interesting in terms of example. Now, to a normal human eye, this is a video clip, or rather image of a warehouse in Japan somewhere, 24/7 warehouse, millions of transactions happen on any given day. 2,200 workers are working at any given shift. Now the first thing you'll say, yeah, the image is more about CCTV cameras capturing any kind of, let's say, trespassing, any kind of security infringement. Well, that's not the case. Here, the video feeds are being analyzed by HR heads and managers. Video feeds, HR heads, what is happening out here? What they're trying to do is to actually understand the fatigue level of the employees and workers at any given point of time. Which means when the fatigue is run high, as it happens in a very high transactional nature of the jobs, they stop or pause the production or the transactions at that point of time, announce the spot pat on the back towards and resume production, just enhancing the overall productivity of the workforce. Also realize today, almost every organization gives spot awards, pat on the back awards on an basis, because the CEO is available, let's give the pat on the back awards. There is no rationale in terms of the time, but here they're using the data in terms of really looking at what level the fatigue is optimal, and thereby announcing all those awards. And as we say that today, if I take an opinion within this room, the world is divided between Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. Yesays and naysays, as I call it, and somewhere Elon Musk has this entire propensity to run his organization through tweets. And he made a very tall claim that everything can be done through automation until he realized that his Tesla cars were not getting produced optimally. And he tweeted this. He really grossly misunderstood the potential of the humans. And today, with the whole fulcrum of managing how human automation happens in Tesla shop floors, they've been able to increase the production of the cars by 58%. The last piece important out here is human behavior. Very, very unpredictable. We all know that, how we react, how we behave, how we emote. But somewhere it's got a theory which gels with data science, artificial intelligence, and analytics. This is something which somewhere it's saying that you can do everything to enforce rules and regulations, but sometimes it doesn't work. And this whole theory called nudge got propagated by Dr. Richard Taylor. Many of you would have read the book. He also won a Nobel Prize, where he said that, look, somewhere when rules, regulations, incentives fail to work, some subtle nudges changes the behavior and makes human adopt things on a constant basis. And I'll give an example today. An average brushing time for anyone, kid or adult, is about 2 minutes. And we know that. Many times, go back to your days, being kids, and the folks who have kids out here, realize that brushing is the single biggest tedious activity in the morning when they have to go to the school. Kids simply don't brush. Oral-B came out with a brush which has a sensor. Not a big deal. Every device, every machine has a sensor. The device, rather the So when the kids start brushing, you can see the different application of the app on the mobile, the contours of the teeth, the time it's elapsed. So the moment it's less than 2 minutes and the kid finishes the brushing, there is a very screeching noise on the app, there is a red emoji, and the kid is not happy. Kid goes back to the brushing, does it for more than 2 minutes. Now there is a happy kind of a emoji with a jingle, the kid's love goes back to the school. And today we know that how our life is actually governed more by emoticons and emojis, right? Now this toothbrush is now being used more by adults than the kids. 2 minutes is a big brushing time. US retail and Indian retail struggling today to increase the sales because a lot of products, local brands jostling for space, inventory goes high, promotions don't work, loyalty cards doesn't kind of perform. This ice cream manufacturer did everything to increase the sales. They changed everything in terms of their brand, promotions, still the sales didn't happen until in one of the stores where the brand was kept, they started playing this music. Can you relate to this jingle? In India, this is a different jingle. When ice cream guy comes in, ice cream hawker or a waiter, simple jingle change did the trick is sales of ice cream in 1 quarter went up by 20 acres. Nudge just to change the human behavior. Now, God forbid, if someone has to go through this exercise, it's agonizing. Specifically kids, they're so claustrophobic about this entire thing that they hate to go in this room, right? 80% is the sedation, 80%. No one thought about that, why it's happening. They tried different mechanisms and methods, nothing worked. Unless, or rather until someone came up with this idea. 10% sedation rate now, just a change of design. I'm sure many of us would like to now go with this kind of a design, right? Now this is real. Small nudges, small aspect about how the behavior pattern needs to change comes to the picture. And this is where we say that AI alone is not enough to solve large, complex, unresolved problems of humanity enterprise. It has to have a different combination. And let's look at this video film, please. How many of you want this solution to be implemented in India? Jaywalking, as we call it. And I'm sure you can all relate to that. And every government, every nation have done everything to stop jaywalking. Unless they realize that something which really catches the fancy of the eyes is the face of the dead. And I think somewhere it's got a correlation today with what we are saying, that it's not about the technology which is daunting or which is sounding or looking scary. It's all about how we are adopting things which, if we don't do it in the right way, will actually start posing problem to us. And as I sum up, there is one aspect which I want everyone to kind of take in, that it's time for all of us, irrespective of the profession, irrespective of the background we carry, that it's time for all of us to augment our intelligence. AI will propel us to really make us do bigger, better, more productive things. The second thing is a bit provocative, but it's true that never send a human to do a machine job. Humans are meant to do more productive, more meaningful work, and this is exactly what will happen as AI will start pushing for different kinds of jobs, keeping the skilling level to a different level. Third is, enough has been said about it, but let's make the world more human first, not AI first. Now, how do we lead in this whole world about AI? And this is where I say that when large, complex, unresolved problems needs to be addressed, we need a triangulation of AI, data engineering, and design. And the examples what you saw in the previous slides and the narrative just talks about that whether it's AI, data science, it's not alone. You can build the best of the algorithms, best of the models, but unless it's supported by the right data pipes, data architecture, data infrastructure, it will not work. And last of all, in terms of implementation, unless you have to figure out how your adoption goes, any good algorithm will fail. And that's where I give examples of these three companies on a AI, data engineering, and design side. The last is, of course, no surprise, they create their own categories. How Google looks today at every problem being an engineering problem, which means how you standardize, how do you really that engineering mindset. Second is about Amazon, the operational dexterity to ensure that the millions of transactions can happen on any given day. So I think somewhere, for all of us, there is a reflection today that we talk about disruption, innovation, transformation. It's a new normal. Strategy is not about a fixed position. It's about a moving set of choices. And the future of jobs looks interesting because this video clip will make it absolutely amplified.
The Brussels Motor Show, the biggest car event in Belgium, where all car brands show off their newest technologies. But it was Volvo who hijacked all the attention with the first car that could recruit its own technicians. Volvo presents the recruiting car.
Ik ben de HR-neet. Ik ben op zoek naar onderhoudstechnici voor de Volvo fabriek in Gent.
200 job openings were announced on social media, inviting everyone to come and check out the first car that recruits its own engineers. To conduct the interviews, we tapped into the car's technology.
Welcome, Oliver. Glad to see you put on your blue shirt for the interview. Can you show me where my electric compressor is?
Sure.
Please allow me to play some piano music to make you feel more comfortable. Tell me, why should I hire you?
I've been passionate about
By applying AI, we could actually test social and technical skills and make unbiased evaluations of all applicants. These were sent to Volvo's HR managers for further interviews. Changing the conversation from cars to jobs got us national media attention.
Et l'entretien d'embauche sera d'abord mené par un véhicule et par son intelligence artificielle.
70% of all news coverage about the Brussels Motor Show was dedicated to Volvo. More than 1 in 2 Belgians was reached through PR coverage alone, leading to 300% more price requests. And the 200 vacancies, well, they were all filled.
Well, I think that's the future of the jobs, and somewhere many of you will be appearing like this, of course. But thanks for your time. Thanks for your time.
The floor is now open for any questions.
powerful and forces. There are people who are transforming the civilizations. A tremendous amount of power concentrated on people who have no responsibilities for a society. The politicians sometimes throw people like that, but they have characters for it. In math houses, the only character you can build is a better math house versus they fight poverty. There's no need to do what's about.
Well, I think it's sir, both, I would say, philosophical and also a real scenario that, as we say that 82% of world's wealth is cornered by 1% population. And somewhere, competitive advantage has become the strategy today. And as we look at today organizations, we realize that they have got a certain window of opportunity under which either they perform, show the results, or move on. I think this longevity we talk about of the organization is not about. It's about innovation, transformation, disruption. What is happening today from a math house's perspective is there is a jostle in terms of really saying, look, do I have the best of the choices when I give to my customers? Do I have the best of the product and services when I offer? And can I change it often? Now a word called pivot, which is usually a startup definition or a word, has come into the normal enterprise or any Fortune 500 where pivoting has become a norm, which means that it's very easy for all of us to kind of change our strategies on the go, and that's where math houses are actually more supple, agile, because algorithms, for the right reason, if tweaked, can actually give the desired results, even if it's not performed in the, let's say, past.
Hi, very morning, sir. My name is Shashank. So my question is that you talked about a lot of positives about the AI and how it is going to bring the value to the humans. But as we know that every coin has two aspects, and what if AI goes into the hands of the terrorist or any people which is having negative mindset? They can also bring a lot of destruction which is very difficult to control. So how the ethics of government will come in?
Okay, so when you do the first session, you have to keep the optimal level or rather optimism level high. And there were slides in the appendix I didn't show about the AI ethics and all. Look, every revolution we talk about, agriculture, industrial, software, have thrown a lot of challenges. The same kind of a rhetoric, I'm sure, would have happened when people moved from industrial, rather agriculture to industrial. Hey, agriculture will have no meaning. There are different ways it survive and thrive. A lot of countries have their large proportion of GDPs attached to agriculture still. Now coming back on what I say the other side of AI, this whole malicious intent, or rather this talk about AI ethics, well yes, it's required. Rules, regulations, it's like a simple thing I keep on saying that a lot of you will actually assume jobs in analytics, data science, AI in the time to come. And a lot of you will work on projects, engagements, assignments, which actually, if done with a different intent, can actually make or break an organization. And I keep on saying that from a professional level of ethics, in medicine there's something called Hippocratic oath, right? For each and every doctor. For the same, every analytics professional should actually bear that don't use data for the wrong reasons. I think it has to come from our internal calling that look, there is someone who's giving us data for the right reason. There is an interest to make it good in terms of maybe monetization of the business, making new product, driving more customers, but tweak use or biasness as we call it in algorithms are human-led, not machine-led. And I think someday rules and regulations can come in. But as I said about even that road jaywalking example, not everything will require nudges. Something has to come from inside and say, look, we will not indulge in these things. And it's more about our own conscious aspect rather than kind of looking. And somewhere, to your point, what's happening today, behavioral scientists, anthropologists today are collaborating with AI and data science experts and really finding that behavior. So I remember a project we were doing for one of the large banks, and we were doing the project on the fraud analytics side, mitigating any possibility of fraud analytics. And this behavioral science company was working with an AI firm to actually understand and predict why do frauds happen. Really going into the psyches of those folks to understand why. So somewhere, I think, these are different aspects of how today's society is trying to think in terms of coming out of those mitigation scenarios to prevent and, I would say, really stop these things. But these are all very evolving pieces.
Hello, sir. You just talked about the misuse of data, and you started your talk with data and its importance. But so my question is like, according what are your views on data privacy? Because right now data is being misused very much. Our even text and chats are being misused for digital advertisement. So what are your views on data privacy? At what level it should be?
Abhi, you should come on stage. That's your turf. I think, look, my suggestion, as just a standalone suggestion, have you figured out what are the applications and the right use cases of data science and AI? 58% of the projects in data science and AI gets reported by the clients because they don't know what analytics AI professionals are trying to do. 1 in 7 algorithms get implemented because the rest 6 are absolutely futile or actually distorted. My suggestion is, look, if we figure out this side which is on a brighter side, can we make the algorithms right? Can we understand what goes in terms of the mind of the customers, giving us problem and solving that with the right data sets, right algorithms? If we crack that, privacy, this aspect about regulations, this aspect about malicious pieces around or biasness around data, algorithms will automatically get solved. It's a question of where do you want to shift in terms of perception, because take any law today, there is no perfect, robust, bulletproof laws. Same as with privacy, regulations, and Abhi will also explain his narrative that government is trying to do different things. But at some level, aspiring professionals and the professionals who are existing, we still are figuring out the right side of analytics AI. And that's, to me, I think there's a huge scope. Some of the applications I maybe kind of look at or kind of maybe absorb are coming from public domain. These are live cases where the magic of AI and data science far more exceeds the expectations what the humans and enterprises have. Can we take the last question?